Hey guys, so I'm here with another video. We're going to be talking about binge eating versus overeating. Now, a lot of you think that binge eating and overeating are exactly the same thing, but they aren't. Now, listen, overeating essentially means you're having a meal and then you have another meal right after, and then have another meal, and basically keep eating to the point where you pass full. So, for example, like say you would have one dessert and then have another piece of dessert, or you would go to the movies and you would technically have snacks, also have a big bag of popcorn and finish the whole bag of popcorn. Overeating is common with all of us. Hell, even I do it myself. We're human. It's okay to indulge at times. There's always a time to enjoy your life while staying on course. Going out to an all you can eat sushi is something I look forward to and I love and enjoy. So that's something that I plan as a cheat meal. Yes, sometimes I overeat when I do go out for these cheat meals, but do I regret it? No. Because the difference is I'm overeating at that time and it's not for the wrong reasons. So overeating isn't a problem until it's done for all the wrong reasons, and those reasons being through, let's say, emotional eating, stress and anxiety induced eating, people who extreme diet for a long time, and by that I mean either they're eating a way less than they should and going into starvation mode, or they're skipping meals just to lose that extra 10, 15 pounds unnaturally and in a way that your body doesn't like. It's going to reject it, and it's going to reject it pretty bad over time. There's going to be hormonal issues and whatnot. So it's not a good way of doing it. So people who tend to extreme diet, they will have a hard time staying strong mentally. Hell, I've done it myself too, where I used to eat what was it, 7 meals, fish and salad every single meal for a couple of months, and I lost a lot of weight. But mentally, I was under eating, I was extreme dieting, and I ended up binge eating like crazy. So I ended up regaining everything and getting fatter. So essentially, extreme dieting can lead to binge eating and can just reverse all that hard work that you put in. So it's not the best way to go to either. Now, they say binge eating also has something to do with your genetics, and they say it has something to do with characteristics or whatnot. I know how some people say that obesity comes from your genetics and whatnot, and you're fat because you're born with it. That is not true. What is true is that, say, genetics passed on from your grandparents or your parents, say they had characteristics in regards to eating a lot or binge eating or eating big amounts of food in very short amount of times. Those characteristics would be passed on to you through your genes. So your control and your appetite and mood would be controlled by whatever your genetics was from like your parents or whatnot. So yes, genes can affect it, but they don't necessarily trigger it. You are always in control of your life, and you can also make this decision on what to put in your body and how to succumb to anxiety and low self esteem. That's a huge one for people too. They'll tend to eat, binge eat most of the times, just so that endorphins releases, and then oftentimes you'll feel guilty, shameful because you ate too much, and that can just lead to more binge eating. And that's such a vicious cycle that it just doesn't work out for everybody, and it's something that can be avoided, and there's ways of working at it, and we'll get into that. Honestly, now even though a lot of us binge for whatever reason is, we must not lose hope. Here I am speaking myself, from a man who used to binge eat And I won't say I won't do it in the future because we're only human and we can only break down at any time. But there's always ways to mitigate those chances of breaking down and succumbing to our guilty pleasures or sort of say guilty sins. So what helped me mostly for getting me out of binge eating. Um, this is very therapeutic for a lot, and it's very therapeutic for myself too. Was proper training, eating foods that I enjoyed, so I didn't restrict myself at all. I moderate what I ate. I was very mindful in what I ate. Most importantly, I allowed myself to indulge and never let myself grow hungry enough that I'd eat anything and all of it in sight. And by that I mean, say I skipped breakfast or say I skipped lunch or dinner, and then I'll end up craving God knows what, maybe a pizza, fried chicken, or dessert, and I'll end up having it. Because I'm like, oh, I didn't eat enough today. I didn't have enough calories, but it doesn't work that way. You still get fat that way. You still feel shitty about it, and it takes a low blow of your self esteem. So it's really not worth it. And honestly, if you're someone who has a busy schedule and you do have some time to have breakfast in the morning, have your breakfast. And say you're someone who gets hungry and you have a job where you can't have a meal or something until you have lunchtime. Say, for example, you eat at 8 a.m., you go to work for 10 a.m., and you can only eat at 1 p.m. This the next time you can only eat. That's 5 hours from now. So, literally 5 hours of being hungry, and you end up having lunch and you end up overeating, binge eating, which leads to binge eating because you're eating for the wrong reasons. And since you're eating for the wrong reasons, you're gonna feel like shit after because you're gonna crave all these shitty ass foods and you're gonna end up eating it. So that's a vicious cycle that you're gonna end up in. A way of avoiding that is have a little snack right before you get into work, or bring something that you can drink while you're at work that has some type of food in it, maybe like a shake or some type of pre-made shakes that you can buy from the store, like a Boost or something small, something that will satiate you, keep you uh, in check till you get your next meal. Nothing wrong with that. Honestly, it's best to eat nutritious foods high in fiber. Since foods are high in fiber, it'll take a longer time for it to digest, to break down in you, so you'll feel full. Also, you should hydrate. Hydration is really important. It's gonna help you curb your appetite, and it keeps your muscles, your body full. It keeps because your body is full of water since it's 70%. So it's always good to have more water. Um, Myself and a lot of people I tend to get onto is to eat smaller meals or even little bigger meals. It doesn't have to be too small, and then have smaller snacks on the side because then it'll keep your blood sugar levels in check since you're constantly eating something throughout the day because you're constantly burning calories for one. And even if you want to snack on some Cheetos or you want to snack on something, take a bowl out, portion it out. You won't feel as bad, and have it like towards the end of the night. So if you're having it towards the end of the night, you already had all your meals, you already feel pretty satisfied. You won't binge eat, you won't overeat, you won't feel shitty, and it's not a recipe for disaster. So think while you're binging. Are you feeling bad or anxious? If you are, find another way. For anyone else, it could be training, it's therapy, meditating can help. Even if training isn't your thing, I know a lot of people who don't like to train and they find it boring. They find it just a chore more than anything else. There are other forms of exercise that you can enjoy, like biking, jujitsu, skiing, swimming. Just eat in a way that you enjoy, that you can sustain, but also be mindful of what you're eating. I mean, you can chew a little longer since it takes 20 minutes for your body to recognize what you're eating and your digestive tract to start its motion. So it starts as soon as you start chewing. Um, Eat foods that are whole grains. Like also you want to add in nuts, seeds, fruits, vegetables, and high protein foods. Eat breakfast. A lot of people tend to skip it. It's very important. You should be eating most of your calories in your breakfast and then slowly tapering them down towards the end of the night. Or you can do it vice versa, whatever you feel good, better for yourself. Um, I know a lot of people like struggle with having breakfast. Have something small, even if it's like a shake or some Greek yogurt with some fruits on the side. It helps. It's gonna help you. You're gonna have that boost, that little energy going, and eventually you'll start getting more hungry, and you'll feel a lot more like a morning person. You know, we all hate those Mondays. We all hate those early mornings. We need our coffee. Think of this the way as like essentially having a coffee. Instead, you're getting your body to start going. Honestly, sleep is important. The less sleep you get, and me myself, I'm guilty for this. Since I've worked night shifts, I've worked two jobs before, and I've gotten to the point where I slept 3 hours, and I had a really hard time controlling my appetite, especially throughout the nights. And I ended up binge eating. I ended up eating God knows what. I ate whatever is in sight, chocolate bars, Rice Krispie squares, all the crappy stuff. So it was really bad. So sleep is important. You want to get minimum 8 hours. Some people get 6 hours, depending on how you are. But if you can get 8 hours, that's great. Um, One thing that could help, I didn't normally do it, but could help, keep a food diary. Write down what you're eating each day, how many calories there are. It'll keep your mind in check. It'll keep you on track, and it's a way of like seeing what foods you can eat, what foods you like. Also, you can see what's in the foods too, so you learn too. And maybe seeing the calories and doing all that work, you won't tend to binge. So food diaries could help. Um, you should also write down how you feel after each meal and what your energy levels are, and if you're feeling hungry, so you can play around with what you're eating too. Lastly, honestly, just love yourself, know your worth, and just stay strong because it's not something that you can avoid as many times as possible and not learn from it. You can definitely learn from what things can go wrong, what stressors come from binge eating, and then take that into account and use that to basically avoid binge eating. So those things could help you in the long run. And honestly, it's not something that you should deal with alone. And if everybody has a problem with it and they need help with it, please feel free to contact me.